Hello, I'm Matt and welcome to Badger Workshop. I've moved house, so it's time to get the new workshop built. I've cleared all the hedges and plants from the bottom of the garden, and now I'm going to put this weed-proof membrane down. You can see in the foreground where there's a trench, and I've dug that all the way back to the house to be able to run an armoured cable out. The membrane gets held down with some staples, and you just hammer them through the membrane into the ground. Budget is obviously a big consideration on these kinds of projects, and I ummed and ahed on how to do the base. I decided to use some paving slabs that were already on the property. This is an ex-council house, and these are some ex-council paving slabs that are about 3 inches thick. They weigh a ton, and it's all I can do to move them around on my own, so I thought they'd work well as the base, and it saves me having to get rid of them. So first I laid down a bed of sand for the slab to go on. I was lucky here that the ground was really flat and level, but the sand will help these slabs seat down and make sure they're properly supported. I have this treated timber for the base, and to keep things simple and wastage down, I'm using the lengths of the timber to determine how big the workshop's going to be. Basically, it's going to be as wide as a 2.4 metre length, and then on the long bits I'm going to have two 3 metre lengths, plus the width of 4 of the 2.4 metre ones. You'll see what I mean. So these are going to be put together in 2 sections and then joined. I've got some nice self-drilling 100mm exterior grade screws to put these together. With the first one done, I start on the second, which is just exactly the same. Building this workshop under the permitted development rules in the UK. It's pretty much spanning the back of the garden with just enough room either side to be able to walk around it. I could have made it wider, but I didn't want to lose too much of the garden. The main problem with permitted development is how high you can have it. It's got to be under 2.5 metres. Well, I think it's got to be that if you're in 2 metres of the boundary, which I clearly am. I mean, don't take my word for it. You need to check all this legislation yourself if you're interested in doing this. When I had all the joists fitted, I could then join the 2 frames together. I first clamped them together to help hold them in place, and then I could drive some screws through, going in from either side, to pull it all nice and tight. Before I went any further with the project, I just thought I'd make sure everything was nice and square, and actually I only need the smallest tap to bring it to square. So now it all needs levelling. Now I've got these decking levelling feet. I ordered 3 different sizes, and I'll put a link down below to where I got them from. The smallest size doesn't adjust at all, and the other 2 you can wind up and down to get everything perfectly level. You might think, how are these bits of plastic going to hold the weight of a workshop? But they're rated to a ton each one. I also like them because they're going to lift the wood off the concrete, so the wood's never going to be sat in water. So with my long level, I can go round, lifting up the frame, getting it level and putting feet underneath. I imagine this would be a really fiddly, time-consuming project, but I actually managed to get it all level in about an hour. When I was happy with the positioning of them all and everything was nicely supported, I could then screw the feet into the wooden frame. My old workshop was cold, so I was determined for this one not to be, so I'm going to insulate the floors, the ceiling and the walls. For the floor I'm going to use 50mm of Kingspan foam insulation, and I have these serrated blades especially for cutting it that go in the jigsaw. These are great because I've used a saw before and it creates a lot of horrible dust, as these just slice through it. This insulation is quite expensive, but when it's all taped up it'll also work as a vapour barrier on the floor. The nice thing about it is it's easy to install. I try to cut it maybe 1 millimetre wider than I need it, and then it's a nice tight friction fit when you push it in. With all the insulation in place, all the seams and edges then need taping up. Use this foil insulation tape, which is pretty cheap and easy to work with. Now it's time to get some flooring down. I'm going with this 19mm tongue and groove pine flooring. It also comes in 2.4 metre long lengths, so I can install it without making any cuts. First I put down a bead of PU glue, which is nasty stuff. It expands and it's flexible, so it should hold the boards down nice and securely and stop them from squeaking. My biggest mistake is I didn't wear gloves while using it, and you really don't want to get it all over your hands. The other way I'm holding these boards down is with some ring shank nails, and I'm using an air nailer for this. With the boards already being the correct length and the nail gun, installing these was incredibly quick. Now there certainly are much cheaper flooring options for a workshop, and if you've got some heavy machinery you might want even thicker options. But as my max height can only be 2.5 metres, I'm conscious of every layer I put down. I want the floorboards because I want my workshop to look nice. Obviously it's going to be seen on film and I'm going to spend a lot of time in it. So for me, I just like floorboards. I say I didn't have to cut these, the very last one I had to rip down. To protect the floor, I gave it 3 coats of a hard wax oil. The one I used I think was called medium oak, the colour. It just darkened the pine up nicely, and needed 2 hours between coats so I could get the 3 coats on in one day. At this point I hadn't fully moved into the house, I'd just popped up for a weekend, so this is as far as I got after 2 days work. So I got everything covered with some tarpaulins, and then I didn't actually come back to the house for another 4 weeks. So that's it all done for now. At the end of the week I'll show you what I did next. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe for more videos.